What's going on today, guys? Primal Sabbath here. We're going to do a quick Masterpiece Blackarachnia update. This comes to me, this comes to you from my friend Blackarachnia. Yes, that's their name, Blackarachnia. Legally, arguably the world's biggest Blackarachnia fan, so huge shout out, Blackarachnia. Appreciate you for kind of showing me this because, contrary to my good pal Matthew Deluxe Baldwin's belief, I'm not the only one that cares about weapon storage. So apparently there was a way to do weapon storage, and I just sort of forgot. So, or not necessarily forgot, I just wasn't trying hard enough, I guess. So there is a little bitty hole back there on the butthole for a stand, clearly. And then there's a little peg right there, which actually in alt mode kind of loosely sets into that hole. So what you do, you kind of get this little back flap out of the way, and then you come in here at an angle, more or less, and you just give it a good push. Make sure it's in there. You may have to grab it from both angles and push down that way. Then you'll close that up. Again, do it a little slight. It's not, I don't want to say it's a weak connection, but it's not a super strong connection. But there you go. You got weapon storage. And honestly, I like the way this looks. I like the way this looks way more than the quote-unquote weapon storage that I showed off in the initial review. So there is that. Again, you get a little bit of kind of added silhouette to the profile, but ultimately, like, I don't mind that. She always kind of reached back and around to get the gun anyways, so I do like that as storage. So again, appreciate you, Blackarachnia, for showing me this. It definitely, like, it's no longer a detractor for this figure for me. And it's crazy because I think I always have all of my MPs wielding their weapons, but just knowing that I can store them like they stored them on the show, like, really does go a long way for me. Now, the second order of business with this is a lot of folks are kind of having trouble getting her back into alt mode, just because most of us sort of ripped her open without the instructions and transformed her accordingly. And honestly, like, the instructions aren't super clear on the orientation of everything whenever you are transforming her. So first, let's get her gun and her missile and all that. And you can see more of that paint's kind of, well, you can't really see, but more of that paint is still coming off of this piece. Again, I can't say I'm too particularly bothered by it because it never shows. Like, it's never a part that, like, shows on her. So let's set them off to the side. Now, what I like to do is, because there's so many moving pieces on her, I kind of like to get things situated more or less. Like, I had to open my the copy that I was going to keep in beast mode to see how everything was. So this is what you want to do. And, like, there's a lot of, like, tricky bits because, like, these shoulder joints that allow the pads to actually, the shoulder pads I should say, rotate up. Like, you really don't utilize those, like, for the transformation, which is kind of confusing because usually with masterpieces you kind of utilize everything for transformation. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna unpeg this backpack and just sort of get it kind of out of the way. And if you want to, you can come back here and fold these feet up. The legs I don't think is too much of an issue, but it can be. And then we're going to lift and get that out of the way, and we're going to fold this whole assembly back. Now, be mindful of this little tab here. You can see it. You don't want to, like, force anything on it. And fold her boobies up against her face, and just sort of feed everything through. You may have to push the head back through first, but feed it all through, or try to feed it all through, I should say. At this point, it wasn't really, there we go. Just got to get everything out the way. So that little tab that we just focused on, zoom in there, is actually going to go into that little slot. Now, when she came packaged in spider mode, that was actually not the case. Like, that little tab wasn't tabbed in there. So that's something you gotta kind of have to do going back. All right, we're going to open the crotch assembly up. Just kind of get it out of the way so that way we can get this whole assembly, so you can see what I'm doing here. Get this whole assembly pulled out and kind of rotate it up like that, and that will more or less set over. There's a little hook piece. I don't know if you could kind of see it, that little indentation piece. Just get it to set over that, and you should be good there. And then if you want to, you can pull these little mandibles out, and of course, rotate them around. For the legs, let's see, I think the legs was kind of a bit of tricky business, at least for me it was. Let's see. Okay. We're going to come back here and open these panels up. And just kind of open them up, get them out the way. There we go. Just like that. That really doesn't serve any purpose, I don't think, for what it's worth. Like, at least I didn't see where. I mean, I guess it just kind of covers these calves up a little bit. So there's that. And then you'll fold these legs up, and then you'll kind of fold them around. And again, you'll want to get the ankle bit around the back piece of this pelvis. So, and just get that out of the way, but make sure it's kind of at this natural curve while you're doing it. Again, do the same thing over here. And then try to kind of keep that out of the way. But basically, these little inward pieces right here are going to slot into the backs of her knees like that. And just get them lined up. And they more or less slot all the way in to the bottom, at the bottom. And there's that. It's kind of tricky because, like, you don't really utilize these pieces right here. These hip articulation pieces. And it's like, I don't know why. I don't know why they're there. I mean, they're there, I guess, so you can get the kind of like cross-legged poses and things like that. But again, like, I was trying to get them to manipulate for transformation, and it just didn't. It just wasn't working out. So anyways, bend the knee pads back. Now, for the biggest problem is the arms. What you'll do, shoulder pads and all, rotate them all the way up and in like that. Then you'll rotate at this piece right here, and then you will rotate at the perceived kind of wrist. And then from there, you will just fold it in on these double joints, in and around, and just sort of leave it there for the time being. These spider legs out the way. If you noticed, I haven't knocked any of them off, and I haven't particularly tightened them up either. So again, we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to rotate this, and this came off of that, but we're going to try to keep it up all the way around. Keep everything flush against the body, and then move those pieces in. And again, rotate at this piece right here by my thumb, and then rotate the wrist, and then kind of fold it in on itself like that. And then you'll kind of just squeeze everything in between these little ankle pieces, and you see where the kind of tab and slot system works for her hands. And you'll just give them a good squeeze, and it'll peg together like it should. So there's that. And like, even though there's no actual like locking mechanism, everything sets in there like super, super well, super comfortable. And then from there, let's see, we will take this piece, and we will plug it on accordingly. We'll try to, at least. It was hard out the box doing it, but more or less, it's kind of fine now. So we'll do that, and then we'll close this piece up. I mean, and you saw me rotate it earlier. And then this piece, again, I don't know. I think I maybe knocked some of this out of whack. There we go. You will slot that in ever so slightly, and then again the peg and the hole that we used for robot mode weapon storage that we now have, which is a great thing. So you'll do that like that, and then from here you rotate these up and then spin these in, set them, up close against the body, and then you will do the same thing over here. You don't have to keep this piece latched on up here, I don't guess. You can move it down so she kind of covers some of these arm bits, but if you push it too much, it's going to pop the missile out and kind of move the arms out of place. So be mindful of just that little, I don't know if you guys can see it in there, but it's like a little bitty kind of tab piece. Let's see. Boom, right in there. So anyways, rotate this up and then swivel them on that little hinge piece right there. And then rotate the ball joints around. I guess you could probably move these in about as close as you can get them to sort of clean some of that space up in there. And then position the spider legs as you wish accordingly. And there you have her back in her spider mode. So a little tricky, but not impossible. Like, again, it really did take me having to get the one out of the box that I had, just to seeing how, she looked that way. And again, you can just kind of do whatever you want to with this. It latches onto that, so I'm guessing like that's the orientation it has to be in. So it leaves a little bit of a gap up here, but again, when it's going to be on the web, kind of in this position, it's fine. So, but that is how you transform Blackarachnia. Again, if like these pieces could have just stayed against the thigh, pretty good job covering some gaps in there, but what are you gonna do? It's still such a fun figure to mess with, to go back and forth with. So anyways, that's weapon storage and transformation back into beast mode. Hope this helps any of you that are having some problems. And if you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down in the comment box. Thanks again to Blackarachnia for showing me the weapon storage, and I'll see you guys later.